What is up, my peepholes? This is your guy, Kalai, and welcome back to Budget Tubing. I've decided to officially spin this series off from budget buys simply because I've got so many things to cover and I don't want to clutter up the budget buys playlist. So anyway, today I'm going to be taking a look at a mic that needs no introduction because of just how ubiquitous it is on this platform, and that is the Blue Snowball. I wouldn't be surprised if some of your favorite YouTubers used this when they were starting out, because I know some of mine did. I'm looking at you, LGR. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about the original Blue Snowball, because not too long ago, Blue Microphones did release a spin-off with a few fewer features, as well as for a few fewer dollars. And by that I mean the original Snowball has 3 pickup patterns, well, okay, technically 2 pickup patterns and 1 sub pattern, and the Snowball Ice, which is what the spinoff is called, only has 1. Those pickup patterns are cardioid, which is shared by both models, cardioid minus 10 decibels for use in louder environments, as well as omnidirectional. And as for the price difference, according to Blue's website, the MSRP for the original Snowball is $69.99, while the Snowball Ice is $49.99. So you can think of it as an additional $10 per pickup pattern. Though admittedly, I didn't pay anywhere near retail for this little guy. If you're one of the few people that watched the series announcement for budget tubing, you'll know that I paid a measly $15 for this mic in broken condition. That's because the previous owner busted out the USB port, and I was able to replace that port for a whopping 25 cents. It's really not hard to do. All I did was open it up, push the USB port out, because at least with the original Snowball, it's held in by friction, mark my cables to make sure I soldered everything correctly after I had the new port in place, snipped out the old one, and soldered in a new one. It took maybe 10 minutes. So it's not difficult to fix one of these things, at least with that issue. And because I had this sitting open on my workbench, I can actually talk in a little bit more detail about the features inherent in both this and the Blue Snowball Ice, because ultimately there's only like 1 or 2 changes there. So let me get this stand out of the way so that I can give you some better views of everything going on here. Alright, here's the Snowball, and one of the first things you'd notice when picking this up is that it is deceptively heavy. And I say deceptively because they use some sneaky tactics to pull that off. First off, a good chunk of the weight comes from this mounting bracket. This is threaded to 5/8 of an inch coarse, which is a standard microphone mounting thread, and this is a solid plug of metal. Interestingly, it actually isn't held in by anything other than the indentations on the shell here, and because of that, it actually floats a bit. This allows you to reposition the mic. Now, the more deceptive way they're upping the weight of this microphone is that throughout the base to the tip, all the way around there, it's got a huge metal plate. I want to say it's around 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit less thick. Actually, might be closer to 3 millimeters. And that's a tactic used by a lot of electronics manufacturers to give something heft to imply value. In fact, from what I've heard, you can find that in some Beats headphones. It's just meh drivers with heavy metal plates, and you think you're getting quality. Though, that being said, it actually serves at least a little bit of a purpose here, and that's because they took the USB port and grounded it to that metal plate, which actually can help fight interference when it comes to the USB power signal. I encountered that when I built my own USB microphone, and I've also got another mic that I'm going to be reviewing later on that didn't do that, and so I've had all kinds of fun getting it working properly. Alright, let's take a look at the back of the mic now. This is actually how you're going to be able to tell if you've got a Snowball versus a Snowball Ice. And I know some of you are thinking that's not really that important because you knew what you were buying going in if you bought a new one. If you're looking on the used market, a lot of sellers seem to have just acquired a large batch of them, so they don't really know what they have. And you can get a Snowball that's listed as a Snowball Ice if you look through the pictures and see this selector switch. That's actually what happened here. The seller actually thought it was a Snowball Ice. They had never tested it, so they underlisted it. You can get really lucky on eBay in that respect, unless I accidentally told some resellers how to do that if they watch this video. Act fast, let's just put it that way. Oh look, the stand's back. And that's just because I want to cover a couple more things before I move on to the testing portion of this video. Specifically, I want to talk about accessories, both those that come with the microphone as well as those you can get later on, because that will be a factor in whether or not I give a few future microphones that I'll be putting head to head against the Snowball a passing grade. For the accessories that are included with the Snowball, both the original and the Ice version, you get the USB cable, which kind of makes sense due to this being a USB microphone, as well as a stand. Though the stand doesn't seem to be set in stone, they did change them out between the original, the first version of the Ice, and the newest version of the Ice, and heck, I think they might have changed the stand on the later releases of the original as well. But none of that matters because I don't actually have the stand that was included with this microphone since I bought it used and they didn't have that, but I saved a lot of money, so whatever. But fortunately, I was able to piece together a stand that's at least representative of what you'll be getting with things that were included in other mics that I have for future reviews. The stand is basically a tripod and a neck. That's it. In fact, this tripod looks pretty much identical to the one included in the current iteration of the Snowball Ice, and that really makes no difference at this point. For future accessories, that's where things kind of get annoying, because if you want something like a windshield, which in most cases is just going to be a universal foam puff, you need to get something that covers this entire ball. And for storage, you need to get something that covers this entire ball, because a lot of mics follow a similar profile, meaning they can be used with generic mic bags. Not so much with the Snowball. So take that into account when determining whether or not you want this mic to be one that you're taking on the go, or you're going to be using in situations where you need a wind puff. Fortunately, pop filters, which I 100% recommend, get a pop filter. Holy crap, I need to make this video. They're universal. They just sit in front of the mic. You don't need to worry about that. Anyway, let's move on to the testing portion. And this time, I'm going to be doing something that I needed to do in my previous mic reviews, but I only just figured out how to do it on my budget. Specifically, I'm going to be demonstrating the pickup patterns using a Bluetooth speaker on a selfie stick. Yeah, I'm cheap, but this is called budget tubing, so it kind of works. I'm going to pull out this shot and give you a better view. All right, I've got the Snowball hooked into my laptop, my phone hooked up to the Bluetooth speaker, and the Bluetooth speaker attached to the selfie stick. Let's start things off with the cardioid pickup pattern, do a quick cut so that I can show you the omnidirectional pickup pattern, and not even bother with the -10 decibels sub pattern of the cardioid pickup pattern. I'll do more about that later. Also, I think I'll go ahead and throw up a graphic so that you can get an idea of what each pattern is supposed to, in theory, look like. Let's get things started, shall we? And that's cardioid. As I can see on my capture waveform, and you probably heard, things are a little bit louder in the front, which makes sense. You're using cardioid so that you don't pick up reflections from things behind you or additional room noise. Of course, some did bleed through because this is a condenser microphone, which can hear a cricket fart 3 houses away, but it does the job. Anyway, let's show you omnidirectional. Now, looking at my waveform, it wasn't a perfect omnidirectional. You do get a little bit of reduction in the back, which makes sense because when I was repairing this mic, I noticed both of the capsules, the cardioid and the omnidirectional one, are both located here with that huge metal plate running through the center. However, it does do a better job picking up in the back, more so than the cardioid did, which is good if you want to have a warmer pickup or if you want to do an interview or something like that and you don't want to have more than one mic going at one time, which actually is a partial limitation to USB mics, at least how they're made out of the box. Personally, I do sometimes use the omnidirectional pattern so that I can get some more room noise and echo, because just using a cardioid pattern leaves you with a bit of what I like to call, or actually if I'm not mistaken, what the audio engineering industry calls dry mic. Very sterile, very closed off sounding. Having a little bit of additional room reverberation, assuming you don't have a ton of echoes. This room right here is actually pretty good for that due to just how many freaking board games I have. It adds a little bit of depth and warmth. That's just my opinion. Anyway, let's move on to the proper audio test, shall we? All right, we're in Audacity. I've got the Snowball set to cardioid, and I'm about 4 or so inches away from the microphone to take advantage of the proximity effect. Don't worry, I am using a pop filter. Now, one thing I wanted to point out about this mic is the sensitivity, because just like the bulk of USB microphones in the sub $100 range, you are going to be beholden to your computer's digital gain. Currently, I'm not using any decibel boosts, but I do have the default gain set to about 70% or so, and as you can see over here on the indicator, I'm sitting in about the -12 to -16 decibel range, which admittedly is easily listenable, but that's with me being almost on top of the microphone and projecting a little bit. Admittedly, if you're in a room that's going to get very loud, you do have the freedom of just flipping the switch on the back on the standard Snowball to drop everything by 10 decibels, but I don't currently need that. Now, let me back off to about a foot or so and add a little bit more oomph to my voice because I'm used to projecting for a lavalier mic, not so much a condenser a little bit away, which a lot of streamers or Let's Players are going to need. Okay, I'm at about 1 foot or so, projecting straight at the mic, though admittedly I am occasionally taking my eyes off of it to look at my capture waveform, and as you can see, I'm still not that bad. This is cardioid, like I said. I will switch it over to omnidirectional right about nowish. Okay, we're in omnidirectional, and I'm still at about 1 foot or so away from the mic. As you can probably hear, there's a little bit more, I want to say, warmth to my voice because I'm picking up some of the echoes from the room behind the microphone. Some people might not like this. I actually kind of enjoy it because it makes things sound a little bit more intimate. Though, I'm lucky in that there's enough baffling around this room thanks to my board game collection that I'm not getting really harsh echoes. I've got another room in the house, actually, that's really obnoxious about that, though that's why I don't record in there, to be perfectly honest. And now I'm back in close to the microphone using the proximity effect, and that's how the proximity effect sounds in omnidirectional. Let's hop over to Fritcher really quick to talk more about the frequency response patterns now that you've got a little bit of an idea on how sensitive the capsules are. Alright, I've switched the mic back to cardioid, I've moved over to Fritcher, and I'm still sitting about a foot or so away from the microphone just so I don't color the recording with the proximity effect. The whole point of this test is to see if the mic is delivering on the frequency response pattern that Blue Microphones has promised us. In fact, I did find a couple of charts both for the cardioid and the omnidirectional, so let's go ahead and pop the cardioid onto the screen. Now, they do say it has a pickup range from 20 Hz all the way up to 20 kilohertz, and for the most part, it's there. If I were to move in and do the proximity effect, I'd definitely get a little bit more response in the extreme low range, but with how my voice is sounding right now, I'd say it's doing pretty good. because I'm not using a test tone. I'm just using my speaking voice, which is a little ragged right now thanks to all of the recording I've been doing today. Now, let's hop over to omnidirectional and swap out charts just to show you how things are turning out in that respect as well. Alright, I've gone ahead and switched into omnidirectional mode, and as you can see, we're definitely getting more response in the lower frequencies. Though admittedly, what I think the mic is picking up would be my laptop fan, because despite the fact that it is in the far corner of the room and you probably can't hear it, the mic definitely can. That's one of the hazards of using an omnidirectional mode as opposed to cardioid. Anyway, if you've made it this far into the video, you probably want to know what the resolution of this mic is, because I was an idiot and didn't mention it at the start. I'll try to remedy that in future videos. This is a 44.1 kHz 16-bit microphone, otherwise known as CD quality audio, and really what a lot of podcasts use. This isn't a studio grade mic, so you're not going to be getting 48 kilohertz at 16-bit or 192 at 24-bit. This is more of a higher end consumer grade mic. It's better than what you would use to make a conference call, but you don't want to use it to record a movie, or maybe even you don't want to use it to record music. Also, if you're wondering about the capsules that are inside, they are 14 millimeter, and the original Snowball has a pair of them, though it's more than likely that the Snowball Ice only uses one due to cutting costs and the lack of a need for an omnidirectional mode. All of this being said, I don't think it's a bad grab to pick up the Blue Snowball at $70 if you need multiple patterns, or if you don't need multiple patterns. The Snowball Ice at $50 isn't terrible, and they do go on sale frequently, and you can buy them used like I did. Yes, there are going to be mics that I talk about in the future that cost less and give maybe a little bit more, but what you're paying for is the Blue brand. The Snowball itself was released in 2005. It's been on the market for ages. People know it, people trust it, and you can get it returned or repaired if things go wrong. Some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about in the future, while I do like them a bit more, don't always come with that kind of guarantee. So sometimes peace of mind does cost a little bit more. And I think that's really all I've got to say here. So until next time, this is your guy, Cly, signing off.